So let us continue contemplation of Tattva Bodha summary by Prakash ji. Prakash ji so far has shared his viewpoints and his insights about the first chapter. So he's continuing there. Let us continue, Prakash ji.
Thank you, Vijay. Hari Om, everyone. So I'm just presenting something which is worth calling it a scribbling rather than any presentation. It is not even presenting, but I'm just using it as a guide for my talk. As usual, as previous case, you can stop me anywhere. We can discuss on any points. So I think in the last session, what we discussed is on the mumukshu aspects. And who is mumukshu and what are the practices and what is the viveka one should have to attain mumukshatva. So the practices is essentially the fourfold thing which we have seen, and the tattva viveka is the knowledge essentially what one should have to become mumukshu is Atma Satyam and Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti, means he should understand that Atma is the one Satyam, and we talked about the definition of Satyam, which I presented here is essentially the Satyam is supposed to be the larger aspects than the Nitya Anitya. And then we talked what is not Atma. We talked about the gross, subtle, and the causal body, which is not Atma, and also the 5 sheets. And one which is witnessing the Avastha Traya is what is Atma. So having established Atma, I think the next logical point is to establish what is Brahman, right? And initially we talked about Nitya, Anitya Vastu Viveka, and Acharya Shankara is trying to pick up that statement now, that is Nitya Vastvekam Brahma and Tadvetiriktam Sarvam Anityam. So the Nitya Anitya, the classification which we did, and what we understood is the only one thing which is Nitya, which is there for all the 3 frames of time, is Brahman. So now, having established the Brahman and trying to link that to the other factors, the other factors are other fundamental factors which I call are the what we described as the tattvas, are the are that makes this world, are the fundamental elements which creates the whole thing. So is the next statement here, which as I said here, what we are trying to do is having established Atma, the next statement is about Nitya Anitya description again. And having known the end game is how to link the Atma to the Brahman is what we should lead to. So the next statement in the Tattva Bodha is Tattva Utpatti. So Utpatti is essentially how it is born. So Tattva we already established is thatness that makes the thing. So the first statement in the next chapter is Chaturvimshati Tattva Utpatti Prakaram Vakshamaha. So Chaturvimshati is 24. So Tattva Utpatti is how it is born, how it is made is what is being described. Or let us see how these 24 elements are born is the essence of the next chapter. So the 24 factors are the 5 grass elements, the 5 pranas, the 5 karmendriyas, and the 5 jnanendriya, and the 4-fold antakarna. All this put together, it is called 24 or Chaturvimshati. The important point to note here is the Jagat and all those things which are residing within me are clubbed together and called as 24 fundamental elements or 24 tattvas. And the important point, another important point which appeared to me is out of 24, there are 19 which is residing in me and there are only 5 outside. So there is 80% is within me. And so therefore the perspective changes from, though what he hear is the same. So the perspective will change because 80% depends on what is inside me. So these are the 24 factors.
When you use the word inside me and outside of me, with whose reference are you talking?
See, now what I mean is a jiva, right?
Yeah.
Within the jiva, what are the things which are there? And outside the jiva, what we known as the jagat, right? We are trying to link up the jiva and the jagat, right? Within the jiva, there are 19 factors. And outside the jiva, there are only 5 elements.
Okay, which one are you referring to here? Which one are you saying that is within the jiva and which one is outside of the jiva?
The grass, the 5 elements, they're outside the jiva, right? That is what is available for experience.
So even the body itself is made up of the grass.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is where the linking is coming to. So that is where it is to be linked.
Okay. So you are, and
because generally it appears that there are the 2 different things. Right? What is experienced and the experiencer? What is causing the experience? And the experiencer is a different thing, but what is causing the experience and what is being experienced, they are the 2 different things. There has to be 2 different things to have any experience. So these are the 24 factors. So what I'm saying is there are 19 inside, there are 5 outside, as far as the jiva is concerned.
Okay. All right. So for the time being, you put a boundary around the body and saying that this is jiva. So therefore, the other 5 elements are the only outside of the jiva. Rest everything is inside the jiva, is the way you are
classifying. Yes, at this point in time. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now we know that there are 24 factors, or 24 fundamental factors, or 24 tattvas, which makes this experience possible. Importantly, they are one-to-one connected, which we all know. There is a statement also which says, Ravi irade kannenu, kannirade raviyenu. Means if I don't have the eyes, then there is no use of having a sun outside. I mean, for me, for the jiva. At the same time, if there is no sun, and even if I have the eyes, it doesn't make any sense, because it cannot bring the experience to me. So it is the relationship between these aspects which brings the experience. So, I mean, this is where, Vijay, I want to bring the union of these things. So there is a corresponding thing inside, there is outside, which is making this experience possible. So now, having these 24 tattvas around, we know that they're anityas from our previous classification. They have a cause, they have an end, they have a beginning. So therefore, they are all anityas. Now, what we know from the previous statement is the Brahman alone is nitya, and there are so many anityas. Now, if one has to say that Brahman is the cause for everything, then the anityas is supposed to be born out of so-called nitya, which is Brahman, which is generally, I mean, according to this statement here, Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Essentially, only a Purna can be born out of a Purna. So if Brahman is Purna, if Brahman is Nityam, Anitya, how that can be born out of Brahman is the main question. And another interesting thing is Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. It looks like a bad mathematics, where if you draw Purna out of Purna, the Purna remains. So if any number is subtracted from another number, only 0 remains. But what we know here is if Purna is subtracted or taken out from the another Purna, the only Purnameva Avashishyate. So therefore, a Brahma a completeness or a Nitya Vastu should be able to give out to another Nitya Vastu only. It cannot bring out Anitya Vastu. So now we know that there are 24 factors which are the Mula, which is the essence of all this experience. How a Anitya can be born out of a Nitya Vastu, which is the Brahman. I think this is where a hypothesis of Maya has been brought into picture, where if Nitya and Anitya to be linked together. So these are the 2 things which we know. One is something which is there forever. Another one is born and it dies. So how these 2 to be linked is by a hypothesis called Maya. So Maya itself is a subject, and there are, I think, there are many lectures which runs for hours together on Maya. Even Prabhuji talks 1 full lectures on Maya. I think it's a bit difficult to comprehend it. But at the conceptual level, I'm trying to present here. I think the Maya is the link between Nitya and the Anitya, which tries to bring up the Anitya from the Nitya Vastu. And having known the end game of Brahman to be linked to Atma, so we also have the causal, subtle, and the gross body. I think all these are operating only in the Maya. So all these three aspects of the body also operating in the Maya. So the core of it is the Brahman. So the statement here is again that Anitya is born out of Nitya by the virtue of Maya, and therefore still the Nitya, the Brahman is the only thing which is Nitya, and everything else is Anitya. Now the qualifications of Maya has been given. So what is Maya? So generally there are three qualities of this world has been described. One is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So what has been said is the Maya has all these three qualities, or Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and from this it has to be evolved. So basically what we are trying to do here is how from a Nitya Vastu is born, is what we are trying to understand. So therefore the Maya, which is the link between Nitya and Anitya, has been qualified with three characters, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And from these three things, how these 24 factors have been evolved has to be linked. So as I said earlier, though there are gross elements outside, there has to be the subtle elements inside for me to experience it. There should be one-on-one corresponding things within me for me to experience. So therefore, the next few statements is essentially trying to establish how this is all established, how this is all brought together. So the Maya has the subtle elements.
Before we go further, yeah, please go back to that slide where you've drawn the model of Nitya and Anitya. So here, the model indicates as if Brahman is at the core, and around it is the Anitya. So can this be the right way of looking at it?
Right. I mean, I think we discussed a similar point last time also. Brahman, this is only for the depiction. Brahman essentially can be thought of being everywhere, because that is a definition of Satyam, all pervading. Right, but this is just to indicate that there is a link required between the Brahman and the Anitya, and therefore I am trying to bring in Maya there.
Fair enough.
Oh,
yeah. The need is understood, yeah. But even in the depiction, so for example, we typically, when we think of the Panchakoshas, the innermost is shown as the Anandamaya, whereas isn't it the other way? So Brahman. So if you just inverse the whatever you are referring as the Anitya circle with Nitya and the inner as the Anitya, then wouldn't that even take care of the modeling?
Not sure. So you're saying the Brahman to be depicted as everywhere outside and the Maya to be inside.
Yeah, everywhere outside and even including Maya.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Maya resides on Brahman. So yeah, possible. Yeah.
Okay, that is one question. The second one is, I still haven't yet heard. Maybe if you're going to cover it, I'll wait. You still are saying there is 19 factors inside and 5 factors outside. So I've not yet seen the unification of that.
Yeah, the unification I said is for Jiva to experience the world, right? There has to be a corresponding factor inside the Jiva. Otherwise, the experience is not possible. This is the statement I made. So that is where I said Ravi Radhe Kannenu. So if there is no sun and there is no eye, there is no experience. So what I was trying to say is, though there are 5 gross elements outside, there are 19 inside. There are one-to-one corresponding elements within me or within the Jiva for the Jiva to have the experience. right? So that is where the unification is coming. Now, I think, does that explain? Does that explain the unification or not?
And we say that 5 outside you said that exist in us in the jiva as well. If you
Yeah, the subtle elements exist, yes. So
even
without
the
which
gross,
even the
gross.
yes, I mean gross elements exist in the body, yes. But
So it
what
is
I'm
not-
saying is,
Mhm.
what I'm saying is, when we discussed about the perception, how the sense organs work, we said, though I see through my eyes, the seeing happens through a faculty of system. It is not just one organ which sees it, right? It is not just the eyes. When Prabhuji gives an example of a mentally retarded person is looking at the TV, he cannot make any impressions in his brain, or even if it makes, it doesn't show any reaction. It's largely because the inside, the subtle elements are not working. Possibly the eye is working, it is making an image still, but it is not able to make any impression to him.
So on that, it may be considered the other way also, right? Even a small child is looking at it, is not reacting because there is no other, let's say, impression, past impression, which it recollects from the memory in order to react. So right now, it is simply there.
Correct,
So we don't necessarily have to consider it as a retarded. Even a small baby
correct,
doesn't
agreed,
necessarily react.
correct.
Yeah. So what we can conclude from that example is that it is the connection between the impression that is coming or the sensation that is coming and whatever is in the memory together forms the so-called reaction.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it is simply like, you standing in a stream of impressions coming or the stream of sensations coming.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. So from
Agreed.
that viewpoint, who's standing, who's receiving all these sensations?
It's jiva, isn't it? It's a jiva which it thinks is separate from the world. So there is a sheet covering which thinks the jiva is separate from the world, and that is what is receiving all the information, all the experience.
So how do you know you have a hand?
Only by experience, nothing else can.
No, what do you mean by experience? How do you know you have a hand? See, for example, now, for the time being, just to be doing a simple experiment, just close your eyes. Just close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what all do you feel or experience about your body? What all do you experience about your body? Wherever you're sitting on the chair, there is a sensation of touch.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in some other places in the body, there may be some kind of sensations depending upon, for example, you may be feeling some kind of sensation around your leg region. Now, if I ask you, how do you know you have a stomach? How do you know you have a lung? What is your answer? You can say that, okay, I have seen my body, all right. From outside you have seen, but inside, because it's a concept, it is there. Because somebody shown you an image by cutting open the body, you have an image. Let's say you had never seen it. Let's say you still are, completely closing your eyes. You've never seen it. The only experience of the body you have is through the sensations that it is offering to you. So the sensations is what you call, essentially, the bundle of sensation is body.
Yeah.
Agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, if you are completely one with eyes closed, a blind person, how do you know that there is something called as a body? All you know is there is some sensation. All you know is some people touch you and tell you this is your boundary. So somewhere the sensation is what causes some kind of a limitation.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if let's say there is nobody around you to give that information, all you have is nothing but sensations, then where do you draw the boundary between the body and the outside? You still are experiencing everything, but there is no boundary that, this is me as a body and that is outside of me as a body. Because fundamentally everything is nothing but sensation.
No, but still, even if there is nobody to tell me that, nobody to touch me to tell there is a touch, I should be able to still feel the air around me, isn't it?
You feel it as a sensation.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm telling. So that defines the body. That defines the boundary.
So that defines, there is a sensation coming that doesn't define the body. You feel that, you know that through somehow, some mechanism, you don't know, you cannot explain. Let's say because there is nobody around you to explain and you inherently are blind. There is nobody to explain. So you inherently feel the sensation.
Yeah.
So some sensation comes. Similarly, heat is another sensation that comes. Similarly, through the ear, some sensation comes. But for you, there is no way to label it because there is no one to come and inform you. It's a sensation. So fundamentally, then, the world is essentially nothing but there is sensation appearing and disappearing in you. Because you do not have the faculty of seeing, only the other four sensations are appearing and disappearing.
Yeah.
Because you are seeing, you have now put another boundary. But for the time being, intellectually, when you remove that eye, and when you look at it, there is no way for you to truly distinguish boundary. Only thing you can say with certainty is, oh yeah, sensations are coming and going. That is for sure. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, but only the only thing which possibly need correction is the sensation is the one which defines the boundary.
So there is, in the sensation, how do you draw boundary? See, right now you see, therefore, through seeing, you have put a boundary. Oh, this is me. Because you're seeing, something called as this is ending here. You see this is as me. But let's say, imagine you had that extra vision where you, instead of seeing this, you see everything as particles. Everything as particles. Then how do you see where is the body ending and where is the something else beginning? If everything is nothing but energy, where is this energy ending and where is the other energy beginning? It is like saying, I take a dip in the paint and I start drawing on the wall. You will see that it is becoming subtler and subtler, but where is it beginning and where is it really ending? It kind of merges. It's a color is just merges. It seems to appear and then goes away, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, therefore, body as the boundary is itself an illusion created by the vision, by the eyes. So, body itself is another sensation for the mind. Is that statement making sense? So this body itself, how do you know you have a body? Through sensations. Through a sensation called eye. Whatever your eye sees, oh, that's a sensation. So, oh, this is the body. So the body itself is a sensation in your mind. Whether what you're seeing or what you're, okay, when I'm sitting quietly, something in the stomach region is making gurgling sound. So there's a sensation. So now that sensation is happening within a defined boundary called body, because you've seen it. If you have not seen it, it's just one another sensation. So through this, can we say body is nothing but just another sensation in the screen called mind?
Yeah, correct.
So the boundary that, there is something within me and something outside of me is in itself an illusion created by the five senses. The very boundary that is within me and outside of me is an illusion. If I had never seen this, then the boundary is much bigger. There is actually no way to define the boundary. Even in your meditation state, when you close your eyes, sometimes you lose the awareness of your body because there is no sensation. Even now, when you close your eyes, you may not feel the sensation all over the body. You feel the sensation only in some parts of the body. Maybe where you are touching the chair, maybe where your hands are touching something else. Some other part which is just in the air, and if there is no movement of air around you, it just appears as a blankness. There is no sensation. You don't even know, you cannot even make out whether it is there or not. Maybe in some part of the body, if there is a pain, there is a sensation there. Through sensation, you come to know that part exists.
Correct. And the sensation is the body, isn't it? So that's what it defines it.
Sensation. So now the body itself, what is the body? For a completely blind person, then it's only sensations. So everything is, oh, sensations are coming. If at all, he internally generates a concept. Oh, so I am watching the sensation, I'm seeing the sensations, and whatever that is being sensed is body. That is how one would define. So the whole Jagat, what we are now referring as Jagat, the whole Jagat is nothing but body, because it's a form, it's a thing. It's a thing that is made up of, for our understanding, we are saying 5 gross elements and 5 pranas. So the world itself, for a completely blind person, the world itself is a body. I mean,
if it is not limited by the senses, yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So which means through that intellectual clarity, you can also come to the clarity that the boundary is also an illusion created by the 5 senses and the way the 5 senses and the mind interprets that sensation.
Agreed, yes.
So therefore, to say inside me and outside me, where is that is happening? Because the sensations themselves are appearing in me and disappearing in me. Me as what? Again, we have to be very clear. Me not as the body. Me as the one awareness.
Yeah, me as Atma. Me is the one experiencer.
Yes, as the awareness, all the sensations are appearing in the awareness and disappearing in the awareness. That much you, by your own experience, can conclude without any external reference. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So therefore, to say that it is outside of me, then it's impossible to say it's outside of me. If something is appearing and disappearing within me, then where is outside and where is inside?
Correct.
Yeah. So this illusion is the Maya. This very illusion that there's an outside and there's an inside is Maya. That there is somebody out there is itself a Maya. That I am separate from something else is itself a Maya. And whatever is appearing and disappearing, again, why is this being done? As a tool for realizing within the mind that, is there truly something outside of me? No. Everything is Brahman only. But then when everything is Brahman, this classification, this understanding, because the mind is focused on the Maya and the mind is bound to the Anitya. So therefore, there is a sensation or there is a cause of suffering. So to remove the cause of suffering, it's being classified, Nitya, Anitya. Otherwise, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. The one that whatever is appearing and disappearing must also be Brahman only. Because there's only one substance. And again, the labeling of the substance is also not there in that ultimate nature. It's only for now, for our understanding, we've labeled it. Otherwise, where is the labeling? There's only one substance.
Yeah, but as long as your senses work, still it defines the boundary, isn't it? As long as your senses work, it still
Correct.
defines the boundary.
That is the limitation. So therefore,
agreed.
It is not a true boundary. It is not a true boundary. It is an imposed boundary. So you are trying to make sense of this in the imposed boundary.
Yeah.
The realization has to be that the boundary is a Maya. Only with that can you be free from the limitation of the boundary. Because all the suffering in the world is because there is a boundary defined. Me and you is where all the conflict is where all the suffering is. Is this making sense?
I'm just trying to comprehend that, but still to some extent, because you want to define the experience, you still need two things. So you still need a boundary.
You don't need two things. You need one which is awareness, and then some sensations are appearing in that awareness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for that to happen, at least you need two things.
It appears as if there are two things.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So as long as your senses are working fine, you still have two things. You still have something inside, something outside. I know, see, at the conceptual level, what you're saying is that when a person is blind, or when the person is not having any senses, when he's in coma, let's suppose, there is nothing different. Everything is
Forget
same.
about the person in coma or blind. You yourself, through these simple examples, you can see when you close your eyes, how do you know where is your body? The only way you know where is your body or what is your body is through the sensations you feel.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as your senses work, still it defines a boundary, whatever you do. Whether you close your eyes, you have to sit in a place, you lie down, it still defines a boundary. You still feel the grossness of the body.
Correct? You feel the grossness of the body, correct. But should it define the boundary of you is the fundamental question.
Yeah, the conceptually one should understand that it's the same. But what I'm saying is, it is there. You cannot deny
it. It appears to be there. That is the right statement. It appears to be there. That cannot be denied. Agreed. See, in order to say it is there, means it has to be permanent, right? See, that is where the Nitya.
Yeah. So it is not. Yeah. No, I'm not saying it is Nitya, but all I'm saying is at any point in time, if it is there at this point in time, you cannot deny that existence.
Absolutely. We are not denying the existence.
Yeah, but of course it is Anitya. That is correct. True. Yeah.
Correct. So like with that approach, as you keep removing the anitya, what remains? Then in who's inside and who's outside, this magic is happening.
Agreed. That part is clear.
And that is the reality of life. That is not a concept. So therefore, to say that it is a concept, again, it's a mental projection. That's why the Nitya Anitya Viveka is being given by Shankaracharya, so that we can take a leap beyond the concept. Because see, ultimately that visualization is not a mental projection. Oh, it is like this. Okay, I'm drawing a circle and it's inside the circle. Because no way to draw a circle about infinite. It is only for the comprehension of the mind, so that the mind can realize that it is something that is beyond even the mental faculty. That glimpse, to have that glimpse, correct. So that the mind can become silent, because who is causing all this reality, unreality discussion is in the mind. It's in the mind that, I'm having all these puzzles.
Correct.
So to quieten the mind, you have to quieten the mind. You can quieten the mind through many techniques.
Right.
Yeah, so
yeah, I think Saravanan-ji is thinking it very deep. So Saravanan-ji, any comments?
And Padma-ji also has been very quiet. So
Yeah.
far.
I think subject is very heavy.
It's the lightest subject. It is the
very subtle.
zero-weight subject.
I think every time we hear somebody speak about this, like the rest of us have gone ahead with the other chapters, right? So when you revisit those things, again you feel some things you first hearing first time, or again you have to recollect what you went through it and come back to that. So I think Shravana Manana Nididhyasa, what Guruji keeps saying, no, that is required again constantly, I think, and consistently. Yeah. But it is clear, Prakash. I mean, I can understand what you want to put through.
Basically, like, how do you reject the world that appears so real, and while conceptually,
sorry for interrupting. It is not rejecting the world. It is for understanding the world as is.
Yeah.
See, the word rejection brings a negative connotation. You cannot reject something that is you. How can you reject? It's not about rejection. It's not about saying, oh, you don't belong to me. No, it is about realizing it is anitya. And here, for the sake of classification, anitya is something that appears and disappears. There is no inclusion or separation. You cannot, neither can you include nor can you separate, because it's a part of you.
Yeah. The world is like the movie where like the stills in the movie, the stills come and go, that like it looks like a running movie, while like it is all discrete scenes. Like that, the world is also appearing and disappearing so fast, but it's moving so fast, but to me it looks like it is always there for the senses. To me, meaning for the senses, or finally ending to the mind. The mind sees that, oh, it is always there, but it is changing very fast. It is coming and going. It's appearing and disappearing.
Yeah, no, while you experience it, it appears as if it is real. It is really
still
happening.
It is still,
yeah,
but it is not still. It is changing continuously.
Yeah.
Just that the rate of change is the appearing and disappearing rate is very fast. But it's appearance.
Yeah.
It's like the video. You all know the concept of video.
Still
frames. Minimum 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
Is that the right number, Prakash ji?
Yeah.
about 24 frames per second of still photographies is what makes you feel as if that's a moving
Continuous thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Maya, it's a illusion. That there is a world outside is a illusion. Finally.
Yeah. I mean,
Also, in Gita, no, one shloka is there. I think it is in second chapter. I'm not able to connect the chapter, but where there is Krishna says, "They are in me, but I am not in them." So I think that is something I think we have to bring into everything, every aspect of us. I think,
yeah.
like all. That was something which is very simple yet complicated if you go into it,
Yeah.
and that kind of helped, I think, to understand many things for me, even in the day-to-day life. For everything,
That particular shloka is Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya Mai Sarvamidam Protam Sutre Maniganaiva.
yeah,
So everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the same goes for all this thing also, right? The waves are part of the ocean, but the ocean is not in the
Waves,
like
yeah.
the water.
Correct.
Yeah,
Not the
nothing
ocean,
happens to
water.
the water, and
Yeah.
however the waves go up and down, it doesn't make any difference to the water. So
Similar references to gold and ornaments. So therefore, the Nitya Vastu, that is the Brahma Vastu, is like the gold. And it appears in different forms and names.
Yeah.
I feel the latest technology is taking advantage of this understanding, the virtual reality. You just put that sheet, and then like you can be anywhere now. You are going through the rides, or you are going through a jungle, but it is not there. It is just that there to fool the mind that like you are actually there.
Yeah.
Right, the virtual reality, what we hear about, or I don't know if you've tried. I've tried, and like it feels very real.
Yeah.
It confuses the
Mind.
the mind.
Yeah.
Dream is a virtual reality that is in our day-to-day experience.
Yeah. And when you brought about the 24 frames per second, I was just thinking on the concept of there's a concept called continuum. I mean, it's mostly used in fluid mechanics. So it is thought that, and it can be proven that any fluid is a continuous media. There is no discrete thing in between. So if something is happening in the flow, if something is happening in the fluid, it has to be a continuous phenomenon. So otherwise, you will not be able to write a differential equation for it, because the first condition we put for a differential equation is it needs to be a continuous thing. It needs to be a continuous function. But for the sake of analysis, if you take a continuous function, it's very difficult. You cannot solve the problem. So what you do is you discrete it. You take a small element, and within that you take that, within this element, I'll assume it to be a linear thing, and it is discrete.
Correct.
Which is not connected to the outside. So I think it's a similar way in which you are trying to discrete it as Nitya, Anitya, and trying to bring the classification.
Correct.
But in the continuum nature, it's all the one.
Correct. So there's a continuous change, and that continuous change seems to be appearing and is appearing and disappearing.
Yeah.
For the one who is noticing, because that cannot also be changing. Then how can the change be noticed?
Yeah.
So through that simple understanding, there's a change and unchanging.
Yeah.
There is something which is independent, and there is something that is dependent, because a change must be dependent on the unchanging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful, Prakash ji.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
But staying in this throughout brings a lot more questions, because you basically, when you're moving away from this slide now, you are accepting that there is it's only me, and like there is nothing outside me, and
It is one. It is one.
and no body outside you can affect you, or uh, can irritate you, or can make you feel sad or happy. Then like it's all in you, right? Then there is no world outside you.
Yeah, so one is, that's why it is.
Before you move the slide, just think about it, okay?
No, one is Ramanji, the clarity of that truth. Then clarity of the truth becoming an established sahaja truth. See, in sahajate, there is nothing to define. For example, for Ramana Maharshi, it is not a matter of definition. Oh, I am Brahman. Oh, it is Anitya. Therefore, I need to be detached. It is not there is no effort needed to be who you are. So to be who you are not, you need an effort. That's why which requires effort, truth or lie? Lie requires an effort because you need to remember, you need to carry it.
Yeah.
So therefore, effortlessness is the truth, is the nature. So to get established in that effortlessness, that requires little effort.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, what are you getting established in? Your own nature.
Yes.
So the simplest, therefore, is always to go back to Ramana Maharshi's tool. Who is the one who's having all these questions, or the one who is currently going through turmoil, currently going through worries, tensions, getting insulted? Who is that? Who am I? Who am I who's feeling insulted right now? So again and again, fundamentally, that through the Tattva Bodha discussions we are having should bring us back.
Yes.
And you are right. That requires initially effort. That's why Prabhuji says it is initially starting as a suffering, where there is duality, and then through the Atma Jnana, during that whole realization process, where you're going through the Shravana, Manana, and Nidhyasa, there's an effort needed. I have to remember I am Brahman. I have to go and chant a mantra to become calm. I have to do some pranayama to become calm. I have to listen to something to become calm. So which means that I have to do something to be something else. That is the in-between stage, the sadhana stage. But the ultimate reality is sahaja, sahaja samadhi. Sahaja samadhi means what? It doesn't require any effort. Sahaja, it's already there. You're already that. So there is no more any effort needed, because gone beyond the effort. So therefore, the journey can be from outside as a GV, can be seen in these three angles.
Yes. Yeah, again, I want to bring that mirage example.
Yeah.
The first time when someone comes across a mirage, when he's thirsty, runs towards it to finally to see that it was not there, right? And then he's being explained that the reason why it looked like this is this, okay? And thereafter, once he gets it, thereafter he doesn't run towards the mirage every time, right? To go through the suffering. He says, I know, that's it. And that concept is established.
Correct.
I know that it is mirage. I know that the blue sky is not there. I know that the earth is not flat, what it looks like.
Correct.
So these are the day-to-day things that that are very, very clear examples of what the bigger concept I'm trying to tell my mind. That if you have agreed to all these things, then this is what it is. Right?
So it's essentially subtler corrections to the intellect. Because
Okay.
intellect operates in the jnana. See, intellect needs some content to operate. The content that has been given to the intellect is the social content. You are that, you are this, you are separate, they are good, you are bad. All these are the content in which the current intellect operates. Therefore, the current intellect, when it operates in that, it naturally generates decisions, judgments. And naturally, those judgments cause some kind of various changes. Because that is the nature of things. So what we are doing is subtler corrections so that the decision-making process is now holistic, is no more individualistic.
Yeah.
Let's continue, Prakash ji.
Okay. Yeah, so basically the next statement of the next shloka is essentially talking about how these elements have arrived, how they are mapped. So essentially, as I said, there is a link between the subtler and the gross elements, which are, I mean, so-called outside. I know someone will object to it, but yeah, the how they are linked up is what has been shown. So though I'm not able to completely comprehend how one-on-one mapping, I don't know, Vijayji, if you want to throw some light on this, how this hearing is connected to space, how touch is connected to air. I tried, but
So
I could not.
hearing means what? There has to be two objects and sound has to travel. So what is the medium of travel? There has to be some space.
No, it has to be air, isn't it? In vacuum, it
The
cannot.
air is a carrier. Air is a carrier, but air.
No, space is required that way for everything.
Correct, exactly. That's why among these 5 elements, there's a hierarchy. So first is the space, then the sound. So like that, there's a hierarchy.
And how fire is connected to sight, how water, okay, we can understand it is taste.
Yeah.
How okay, can also be.
Seeing means what? Seeing means what? There has to be a generation of sparks, no? See, what is really happening at the eye level? They're getting fired up. What are getting fired up? Your rods and cones. So that element has been, it's firing up of those is what is causing the sensation of sight.
I don't know, is it really called firing or it's just the imaging?
Whatever you may want to call it, but ultimately what is happening, sir?
No, but what I'm asking is how the subtler element called fire is.
So what is firing? What is firing? So for example, when light hits that.
Yeah, fire emits light, right?
So
fire also emits light.
Those particles are getting excited, no, in your eyes.
No, basically the fire also brings the touch if you look at that way, because it can bring the sensation.
Some of the elements have more than one sensation. So for example, water can be tasted, can be even, you can feel the touch. So that is the property of that particular element. But what is sight fundamentally? Light falls on your eyes and it creates those light, whatever it falls on the rods and the cones, in turn creates electrical discharges to happen.
So that happens for any senses, right? That is an impulse which should happen for any sense, right? It is not only for the sight, it is not only for seeing.
No, but the point is, in order for that sensation to appear inside you, what is the element that is contributing is what is being referred to the subtle element.
Correct. So what I'm saying is the order in which it is written here in this previous few shlokas. Yeah, I'm trying to understand how it is written or why it is written so. So when
it is one is the basis of the other. Without the space, the other elements cannot exist.
Yeah, the space is the fundamental thing.
Correct.
So, but it is only mentioned as the space leads to hearing or space leads to mind.
Space
right?
leads to, space is the
Hearing.
one which leads to every other elements.
Absolutely,
Every other,
but
yeah.
Absolutely, but only
Yeah.
hearing is what is mentioned. So that is where I'm trying to understand. So in
No,
the
not necessarily, no.
see, it is said here in one of the shloka. I will try to read it out. Yeah, Akashasya Rajasamshat Vagendriya Sambhutam.
Correct.
Right.
So the walk is because of the space element.
Akashasya, yeah.
But that
Yeah,
doesn't reject that the others are not because of the space.
I agree, but why space is directly linked to speech is what I'm not able to understand. I understand the space is the common thing for all.
Correct.
How exactly you map space to speech and the hearing?
See, what is space here? You know, it is not the physical space we're talking about, the space
I agree.
element, the space tattva, the space essence. So in this whole phenomena called Maya, now we are trying to understand the Maya. So again, for the sake of understanding in the mind, we are breaking it. How do you differentiate space from fire in the concept level, at the mind level? Impossible. But you are able to recognize certain characteristics. And you are saying, this is why I'm labeling it in this way. There is really nothing that you can separate there. At the mind level, at the deepest level, like you rightly said, everything is a sensation. Simply everything is a sensation. And what is sensation itself? In that, you are able to distinguish. This is a sensation that is appearing differently than the other sensation. And what is the elements that have contributed to that? The essential elements is what is being referred here.
Agreed. So there are two things to happen. One is there should be a hearing entity within me, and there should be a sound outside for me to hear. So there are two things required. So what is being referred here is the hearing came out of space.
Yeah.
Right. Hearing is born out of space.
Yeah.
So that I'm not able to understand is what I said. I understand there are two things. Where there are outside, there is sound, there is hearing. So for me to hear, there should be a subtle thing called hearing.
There should be a subtle thing called hearing.
And the hearing is born out of space is what has been said. So how that is linked up is what I'm not able to understand.
So can you frame the question, when you say you're not able to understand hearing is born out of space?
Is it merely the statements, or is it, see, so far we are bringing this study in a very, very logical fashion, isn't it? So suddenly what happened in this text is it become mere statements rather than, say, so far it was very logical.
Okay.
So here it brought suddenly, okay, take it, this is a statement. So that statement lacks logic, or logic is not mentioned at least.
True. Okay, agree with you. In fact, how to really know that there are these 5 elements? So this is, once again, it is not a chemical lab experiment that I can do to say, okay, can I exactly create the same? So this is, it looks like it's a subtler statement which requires us to go deeper into silence. So at this stage, I would recommend that we take it at a faith level, not necessarily reject, not necessarily completely accept. Consider, look at it as a model of the world, model of the Jagat, how the Jagat has been created, because that's a natural question now for the seeking mind.
Yeah.
So that seeking mind has to be given certain model. So a model is being given.
Yeah.
And if you look at it in that way, that model has contributed to all the other areas that you see in the Indian or the Bharatiya Sanatana Shastras.
Yeah.
Whether it is Ayurveda Shastra or whether it is Bhuta Shastra, whichever the Shastras that you take in the Indian Sanatana Shastra system, these acceptance of these subtle elements has contributed to further evolution. So through the effect, you can say cause is correct. That is the one logical explanation that you can have at this point of time.
Yeah.
Through the effect, cause must be true.
Correct. So
yeah, good.
yeah, agreed. So yeah, so the only point I wanted to make is it merely becomes statements at this point in time. Yeah, as you said, a hypothesis can be proven, can be accepted if it answers all other questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only so there are a few things in many of our subjects in physics also where we say the only proof is it cannot be disproven or it cannot be
correct.
You cannot say that is untrue. Right?
That's why DVG begins the whole agga with "E vastu." Is it there or not? That's the starting question in the starting prayer, isn't it?
Yeah. No, the starting one is
Ihudo illado anta eno shuruvagate.
The first one is Vishnu Vishwadi Moola Adi Moola Parabhammanendu Janam Avudanu Kanadeye Altim Nambuhudo A Visheshake Maniyu Mankutima. Means whether it is there or not, you don't know, but still people believe that he is the Parabrahma. Vishnu is the Parabrahma, and they do all this. So that speciality, you bow your head to that speciality.
Correct. That is the first shloka. Yes. I'm just playing that. Then there's a next shloka that
the Ihudo illavo Tiliyagodadandu Vandu Vastu.
Yeah.
That one, right?
Let me just play it.
Software is the #1 agile tool recommended by teams. It's used by Kadivana Todise. Jeva Jadarupa Prapanchavanadavudo Avarisikondu Molaneridu Mihudante Bhava Kolapadadante Alategalavadadante Avisheshaka Maniyo Mankutimma Ihudo Illavo Tiliya Godadundu Vastu Nija Mahimeyim Jagavagi Jiva Veshadali.
The most important statements. Ihudo illavo vastu nija. It appears to be there and it's so subtle, it misses. So there is no way to prove it other than by disproving it. What is not, it is. So therefore, Shankaracharya's Nirvana Shatkam is the way to arrive at it through the Neti Marga. So similarly here,
I think that's also a limitation of the language.
Correct.
You will not be able to define it. Something which, I mean, the first statement is Anirvachaniya, we said. So therefore, it is the limitation of the language also.
Correct. So therefore, here, for the time being, through the effect, we can accept the existence of these elements.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even the next statement brings little more interesting facts. Essentially, it is telling the grass elements are all mixed up, which is true.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm trying to just break it down and trying to see what is the shloka is telling. So, I mean, something which I could easily comprehend is the fire. We know combustion.
Yeah.
For the combustion to happen, we need 3 or 4 things. One is it must have air, it must have fuel, and there is a byproduct of combustion. Right. So that is easily understood. There's fire, there is air, and there is soot or other thing which remains out of combustion. And water is generally a output of combustion. Any combustion will lead to some amount of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think possibly you can explain all other elements also in the similar way. But I think the essence which I made out of these statements here is only that the grass elements are also mixed up. They're not pure in their pure forms. They're just mixed up. So that shloka essentially describes in this particular order. You divide that into half and that half into 4 quarters, and then you mix it in that order. Yeah. So I think that's all I have for today. I will try to bring up a few more things next week.
So another way to consider this, Prakash ji, is, see, the very definition that there's something called a gross and something called a subtle is only for the mind to comprehend. Truly speaking, where is the boundary for gross and where is the boundary for subtle beginning? So where is the boundary for the body and where is the boundary for the mind beginning? Which one do you call as body? Something that you can see through the senses or feel through the senses. Okay, let's take that test further. I look at, let's say, some cell, living cell in a microscope. I see so many things. So I can say, okay, it is still grass. I go into one of those subatomic things, and then I look further. There also, I may see something to see. Go further, based on today's science understanding, at the quantum level, they cannot see anything, but still the phenomena exists. So in a way, if you look at it, it's a continuous spectrum. It appears to be appearing to the even the visual sense only in a limited way, because as you go deeper, it cannot be seen, but still at a slightly more zoomed out level, it seems to be seen. So where do you draw the boundary? Which is gross and which is subtle?
The boundary is essentially in the senses, yeah. And how you perceive
Impossible.
it.
I say that, okay, whatever I see is gross. Okay, then whatever the bat is seeing, whatever the ant is seeing, whatever the another animal is seeing, or if I wear a special glass, whatever I see, is it sense or not? If I wear a microscope and I start seeing, I see differently. So this is once again a kind of an artificial boundary that you and I have drawn up, so that we can have some transactions in the world. Otherwise, the gross and the subtle is just one continuous existence. One continuous existence. There is no discretization that is really possible, but it appears to be there. A lot of effects seem to be happening at the phenomenal level, whereas at the subtler level, how do you really distinguish?
Yeah.
So again, the one is definitely to look at it from a Panchabhutas and Panchikarana and how it is happening. It seems like a very deep.
Yeah. So I mean, understanding why it is S by 8. I mean, rather the space, why it is 1/8 of anything. So I mean, this needs possibly a little more understanding. So it is given merely as a statements here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So based on the context in which it is being given, at this point of time, because the effects are true, because the context in which it is being given is true, and because there is a shraddha with which the study is being taken up, these statements are true. In the experience of the mind, it may not be true. I had a similar question. So how to really arrive at all these, because there are some specific proportions being given here.
Yeah.
All the other so far, Nitya, Anitya and everything, we could, using our day-to-day experience, could arrive at it.
Correct.
Only this part of the Tattva Bodha seems to be, from our day-to-day experience, slightly more challenging to see.
Correct.
Yeah, that is a fair statement.
Yeah, as I said, it's simply straight away. It's a statement. It's a given statement. You take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The logic behind it or the theory behind it is not given in the text.
Yeah.
I mean, even I heard through the Prabhuji's talk, there is nothing much on this aspect. I mean,
correct.
On the larger aspect or at the concept level, it is described, correct. But not at the level to the core meaning of what the shloka is trying to tell here.
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't know. Possibly we need.
When asked Prabhuji said, some of these things have to be taken at faith. Again, why that statement has to be taken at faith is not necessary that it is incorrect, but at the same time, in my level of understanding, it may not be yet there.
Possible to understand. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. There are some special kriyas in the energy path of realization where they focus on one of the elements.
Mm-hmm.
So there are practices related to fire element, practices related to water element, practices related to space element, So in fact, the Chidambaram temple is said to be the Akasha element, related to the Akasha element, realization of the Akasha element. So again, it appears like there's a missing link in the way to realize this. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, correct. The missing, you don't know what is linking it up.
Yeah.
So I think that is left to the people to experience and fill it up, because there is no text given, or as I said, possibly due to the limitation of the language itself.
Yeah.
It cannot be expressed. So therefore we have to leave it like this.
Yeah. See, we could arrive at the ultimate, which is Brahman, again as a word. But there, to take that leap, there were no logical inconsistencies.
Yeah.
You could arrive at, okay, there is something that is changing, there is something that is not changing. So existence of the unchanging is established. And that you labeled as Brahman.
Now, suddenly I see a jump in the way of argument in the Tattva Bodha. So that's what I was trying to say. That so far there was a logical way of deducing things, and suddenly there are statements given. So I don't know whether it is right comparison, but sometime back I tried learning astrology.
Yeah.
So till you draw the Kundali, till you understand the thing where it is astronomical, it's 100% logical.
Yeah.
Right. But beyond that, it suddenly becomes few statements. Like if this is this, if this planet is sitting here, if this star is here, then this is the quality. So that is difficult to comprehend, because it's merely a statement.
But you see, that is a logical statement for the content of the mind that you have. So some other mind may not agree to that as a logical statement.
Yeah.
Whatever the way you have arrived at it, it may not be the case for some other mind. You have a more analytical and science-oriented mind. So in that, this way of arriving at it seems like correct.
Yeah.
So what is logic itself? See, there is something that you can know through some explanation. But there is something that you cannot, how much ever you try, cannot know.
No, yeah. So when you ask what is logic, logic is essentially you go to unknown from the known.
Correct.
Right? You go step by step. You go one step at a time.
But there's also leap being taken, no?
Yeah, there are many. Yeah, but leap being taken with some assumptions.
Those assumptions, when you go to that boundary of the assumption, there it opens another can of worms.
Yeah.
If you assume that the inertial frame of reference is true, then the laws of physics operate.
Yeah.
When you start questioning the boundary, the assumption.
Correct. And that is where the Newtonian and non-Newtonian physics will become a problem. Yeah. The Newtonian physics, moment you enter into the realm of atoms, it will not work, because you are entering a different region altogether. To
connect to the example that we were discussing a little while ago, seeing is connected to eyes. Okay, so then if I start getting special eyes through electron microscope, then what I see, is that true? No, not necessarily, because I can go further. So till when I can go further, it seems like an infinite answer, because now I have to come to the clarity that it's a limitation of the instrument that I'm not able to see beyond this level.
Yeah.
If at all I had a better instrument, I could see beyond this level.
Yes.
That's the whole fractal science, right? Yeah. Fractal science is, as you keep going, the pattern repeats. So realizing that the pattern repeats and there is no certain end to it has to give a certain leap to the intellect that, okay, this is where I just need to go beyond the faculty of whatever I call as logic.
Yeah.
Because truth is beyond logic.
Right. That's where it becomes challenging. That's where you cannot put it.
At the same time, there is a Nitya and Anitya existing.
Yeah.
At the same time, there is good and bad existing. and beyond that is existing. So all are existing. Confusion is existing. Clarity is existing. Jnana is existing. Ajnana is existing. All in the same.
It may be a pointer to the ego that at some point of time the ego has to surrender, saying, "No, okay, I have hit a wall now. I cannot go beyond." Now, whether there are two paths. I'm not going to move until I know, or okay, I surrender, I move on.
Yeah, no, it's possibly a limitation of the intellect.
Reasoning is in the intellect domain.
Yeah.
So,
Very nice. Any
So-
other points? Padmaji, anything else that you want to say, ask?
No, sir.
Thank you very much, Prakash ji. Once again,
Thank you.
You bring a unique approach to arrive at this, and every time we discuss, it opens up another way of considering our viewpoint.
you can frame that slide, the 4 slides before one.
Sarvana, this is not going to leave me.
I kind of go through it every day, so
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
until you can try to put it in the slide.
Sure.
Yeah, that will also hit a wall.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult. Yes, it's not easy.
Very nice. Okay, so then shall we end our today's contemplation? Padmaji?
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead me from untruth to truth, darkness to light, impermanence to permanence. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that is complete. This is complete. When completeness is removed from completeness, what remains is complete. When completeness is added to completeness, totality remains complete. Om, peace, peace, peace. Nanu, nanenbadu, nanalla, ideha, manabuddhi, nanalla, Sachidanandatma, Shivananu Nane, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am not the body, mind, intellect. I am pure consciousness, Shiva Swarupi. Atmadarshanam, Brahmadarshanam, Brahmadarshanam, Satyadarshanam. Recognition of self is recognition of the whole. Recognition of the whole is the truth. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. We worship the three-eyed one, who is fragrant and who nourishes all. Like the fruit falls off from the bondage of the stem, may we be liberated from death, from mortality. लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरिः ओम तत्सत्. May all beings be happy, healthy and peaceful.
Thank you very much, Padmaji. Thank you all.
Hari
See
Om.
you next Sunday. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir. Hari
Hari
Om,
Om,
everyone.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om.